Well, shalom to everybody. I hope you guys have had a wonderful start to your new year. It's obvious that it's going to get off fast and furious with the things that have gone on already in the political year. This journey, we are seeing an enlightenment on many levels, and many people that I've listened to and that I've talked to are really missing. Uh, there's a picture that we have about peace, and I'm going to say this on 100 levels. Those who get it will, those who don't won't, and everybody's happy. But the reality of it is peace in the outer world. Many people are equating that to somehow their supposed inner peace, and the reality is that all of the circumstances have nothing to do with true peace. You're never going to live in a time when things are peaceful, at least not in this dimension that we live in. And so the as is, the teachings totally on every level of Yeshua are about internal, and it's been really wonderful the quantity of things that I've gotten to see in the recent in the Bible, how they there's actually a hidden story that most people have not picked up on, of how all of these things are really just at more of a level. It's more, the Bible is more of a metaphoric book really than it is anything. Uh, and so there are many things going on, and many things that it seems like that we all probably are struggling with a lot more than we realize, looking to the external, looking to the external, looking to the external. And even if you've begun to try to not do that necessarily, it still is so prominent in every area of your life that oftentimes it's really easy to revert back to thinking you're spiritual. That's the spiritual pride part that everybody's talking about, and everybody's talking about it. Because it's one of the worst manifestations that comes with any kind of spiritual awakening, is the opportunity for spiritual pride. And no matter how much you learn, you'll never learn everything. So there is always a place to go that's further than wherever you are. And when you begin to see that, then all of a sudden, hopefully, it helps you with your humility and to keep yourself humble that you haven't arrived, and unfortunately at many levels you're not going to ever arrive. And so the journey is the process, and the journey of course is inward. So uh, there are many things going on, many things changing. If you guys haven't been listening right now, for the month of January there's going to be a really strong powerful force that's functioning. It has to do with some celestial alignments, has to do with some terrestrial things. Uh, but this is a really unique time, because 2026 is going to be a massively unique year. And so I hope you guys will understand that the process is going forward. It's not can you, anyone that desires to can do the work necessary to shift into the dimension that is actually already manifesting at many levels. But it's totally based on your desire. And so if that's not important to you, then just stay in low density and you'll continue to create that reality. And for those of you who might choose a different option, I think a very big piece is that you have to kind of start learning how to understand that every prophet that has ever spoken about the time we're living in have all talked about that it's going to be a frequency issue. And so I've heard a lot of things and talked to people, and they have these pictures locked into their mind of what it takes to change your frequency. If you're a low frequency person, it's a valid question to ask, so how then do I become high frequency? And if it matters to you, then it'll be the most worthwhile journey you ever go to, because it's well within your power, but the power that you're looking for is inside of you. And if you haven't looked for it, and if you haven't found it, then you're powerless, if you would. And so I hope that as we go along, some people will actually begin to become more powerful. That power is over themselves. We often miss that. One of the things that I felt like was brought to my remembering has to do with the mental concept that we have. You know, when in Christianity people would say, I'm too blessed to be stressed, and then you go sit and eat lunch with them and you don't hear anything about their about their stress. So it's just a cliche speaking, if you would. And so we have an ability to change our reality, but on every level it is totally either impaired or accelerated based on us. And so I hope you guys will just grab a hold of that. It's going to be quite huge. It's going to spread fast, and it's not going to be without chaos. It's not going to be without. So then we have to get this revelation. The scriptures tell us that God, whatever context they intended, in whatever context you have understanding, that God would above all things that we are blessed and that we're prosperous. And if you listen to 99% of the people talk, all of that prosperity is all based on external things. And unfortunately, until we get the true revelation so cemented in us that it's the way that we view the world, the blessing that comes to us has to manifest inside of us first. I would above all things that you are blessed and prosperous, even. So the even is the qualifier. So you could even dare to say that God doesn't really care that much about you being blessed or prospered if your soul doesn't prosper. See, there's a qualifier. You don't get the beginning without the end. In fact, the mirror comes in until it is you inside. It will never be you outside. And that's why people who are distracted inside, they always distract themselves on the outside. They lose focus. They can't pay attention. They're always distracted by something. And so the truth just keeps sliding by them. And then they go, well, I didn't get the truth. Well, you didn't get the truth because you didn't focus. And so that seems to be a very prominent thing in this society we lived in. It's so fractured. And when they talk about the fractals, friends, the fractals are, everything is fractured. So anyways, for those of you who get what I'm saying, then you'll be blessed. For the others, then let's move on. I left off last week with how does an earthquake shake? Question that was asked, and Yeshua, really beautiful. All of these pieces that he gives us are so potent, but you know, at the simplest form, how do you break down a human life and equate everything to one simple statement? And yet that is what his teaching is. And so Judas answers and says, tell me, Master, how does an earthquake shake when it shakes the earth? Obviously, it's very possible Judas was asking a literal question. And of course, as is always the case, people come at Yeshua. I find this often myself, but people come at Yeshua from a totally human concept, from a human mind, from a human belief system, and they still view everything externally. None of it is internally. None of it is accountability for me. None of it is my mindlessness caused this. It's always it's someone else. And so And the master picks up a stone, and he held it in his hand, and he said to him, "What am I holding in my hand?" And he answered, "It is a stone." And he said to them, "What supports the earth is also what supports heaven." So begins his dissertation to answer the question almost with a question. What supports the earth is also what supports heaven. So before we can really understand anything else, should we not then have to settle what is it that supports heaven? We now have a telescope that has flown light billions of years away, only to find that it has encountered now a wall, which most of you don't have any knowledge of. But actually, I was reading some other ancient scriptures, and I found that wall and that firewall talked about that has just recently been exposed by a NASA telescope. And so, what supports the earth is also what supports heaven. When a word comes from the Majesty, it will go to what supports heaven and earth. The earth does not move. If it moved, it would collapse. But it does not, so that the first word might not fail. Well, there's actually quite a bit of nuance to that. What is the word? Is he talking about something that was spoken, or is he now talking about something else? What is the word? If anybody is intent and conscious, then that would obviously have to be one of the most important questions about. First off, we have to settle what is it that supports, and secondly, what is the word that he's now talking about? And he says, but it does not. So the first word might not fail. The word established the world and dwelled in it and smelled the fragrance from it. The word did. I make known to you, all you children of humanity, all the things that do not move, for you are from that place. You live in the hearts of those who speak out in joy and truth. If the word comes from the Father's body among people and they do not receive it, it will return back to its place. And so when you hear things like a statement that is made that you recognize, just as the word comes from the above to us, when we choose not to accept it, when we choose not to be conscious of it, then that word actually leaves us. And there's actually places in the Testament where we read that Yahusha said, whatever you don't have, I will take away, even what you do have. And what's being stripped, there are people that will sit here today and listen to me and go away and be less knowledgeable and less conscious than they were when they got here. If you do not embrace him and align with him in the manner in which he desires, you lose, not win. And that might not be popular, and you might not like that. But the reality of it is that principle is a universal principle. Anything that is out of alignment is cast aside, be it you or something else. And so it's vitally important. When the Spirit said to me 2 months ago that alignment is everything, that's been a journey that certainly hasn't fully manifested for me, but I do see pieces of it. I watch people walk around still in alignment with their self, talking about how spiritual they are. And you can't be spiritual and carnal. It's impossible. Even though that exists inside of you, it has to do with who controls you. Mindless people are controlled by mindless minds. People who never think about anything else except their little world are controlled by their little world. You often see this called self-centeredness. The world revolves around me. And so, he says, if it moved, it would collapse, but it does not, so that the first word might not fail. The Word established the world and dwelled in it and smelled the fragrance from it. I make known to you all of the children of humanity, all of the things that do not move, for you are from that place. All of us are, but it doesn't mean that everyone will access that. You live in the hearts of those who speak out in joy and truth, i.e., consciousness. If the word comes from the Father's body among people and they do not receive it, it will return back to its place. So there will be people who get something today, and the rest, the truth that I dispel, will just return back to him. It will be as if it was sucked away from them so that they cannot access it. We really have a really super corrupt picture of reality in consciousness to the higher self. And I say this over and over again, and many things I've been saying for 30 plus years without the knowledge that I have now. But everything is about you, and yet none of it's about you. And so, coming to understanding, whoever does not know the work of perfection does not know anything. It's pure and simple. How are you perfected yourself? You want to find out if you're knowledgeable? Ask yourself, how am I perfected? And if you answer that, either have no answer or answer that wrongly, then he's already given you. I don't need to give you the diagnosis. Yeshua himself has already done so. See, he did not think telling people hard truth was negativity. He felt like telling people hard truth was the greatest act of love that exists. And yet most people don't want truth. And so they manufacture inside of themselves a realm that says truth is bad. And so one who does not stand in the darkness cannot see the light. You don't shine when you're around a lot of other lights, folks. Everybody's shining. You only shine when you take the truth that is in you, that truly is in you. I'm not talking about some words that some guy taught you on YouTube. I'm talking about you possessing that inside of yourself. Because at best, the only thing that any YouTuber may do is to show someone how they manifest the light, but you must do the same yourself. Anything short of that is fake. It's part of the matrix. And so, one who does not first understand water knows nothing. For what use is there for such a person to be baptized in it? One who does not understand how that the wind blows understand how the wind that blows came to be will blow away with it. So, here's a piece for you. All of these things that I talk about us looking inside and finding our higher self, the reality is you can take all of these and you can sum them all up. Until you're interested, first off, with being honest with yourself, then in his eyes, you just have no knowledge. Okay? It really is that huge. We were told that everything, salvation comes externally, blessing comes externally, and now the truth that is coming out, that has been hidden for several thousand years, says that all of that is a bunk. None of it's true. It either comes from inside you or it doesn't exist. And so if your life is fractured, and if your life is confusing, and if your life is mishapped, it's because that's what you are inside. And the first thing that we have to do is come to the place where we acknowledge and recognize that. And if you don't do that, then you just live in that cycle, and we'll continue to. We're going to find out a little bit. He talks about reincarnation more in this book than I've ever seen. But it's totally based on you, friends. When people tell you, even though I don't believe that most of them have knowledge, they're just recanting words. They certainly don't have Yeshua's knowledge. But when Yeshua says these things, he's just telling you how it's going to function. You can disagree with him and watch it happen anyways. It's not going to affect his words. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word was made flesh. And we also were in the same state. And so, one who does not understand how the wind that blows came to be will blow away with it. One who does not understand how the body that a person wears came to be will perish with it. Why was it important that you understand that it wasn't Yahweh God, the false usurper, demiurge, creator of humanity, which is all that is all that the Jews observe, are all just another corruption of the teaching Yeshua taught about the demiurge, the one who created the archons, and the archons are the ones who created us. There is no Yahweh, there is no divine single external God that's sitting on a throne going to come and save you. Nor is he going to judge you either, because he doesn't exist. And so, how will someone who does not know the Son know the Father? All things are hidden from one who does not know the root of all things. Once again, another metaphoric, mystical principle that there are people who will never get it. But it only is that they won't get it because they chose not to. Not because they couldn't. Because all of us have that power inside of us. All of us. Everybody is equal. There is no greater or lesser. Somebody may have more truth than someone else, and they share that truth, and in human eyes that might make them look greater. And there is in human concept that there is some truth to that. But in the spiritual realm, we're all the exact same. And until people begin, and all over the place, people are starting to recognize this. All of a sudden, amongst the spiritual movement, racism is starting to fall away. In a time, there will be no racism. There will be no gender separation. We will just simply be the light that we are. But that will only be for those who awaken. So, how will someone who does not know the Son know the Father? The answer is they won't, because he is one and the same, and you are one and the same. All things are hidden from one who does not know the root of all things. Wow, that's pretty huge. Whoever does not know the root of wickedness is no stranger to it. So if you'll look at this in proper alignment, you will begin to see that many of these things that he's saying here, although we don't necessarily like to always look at it, many of these things are supernatural revelation. Anyone who does not know, okay, well, you don't know, so you're ignorant. Ignorance is temporary only as long as you choose to remain ignorant. See, the problem in our lives is somebody is one thing, and as long as they protect that, they stay that. It's only when you confront it, admit it, accept responsibility for it, that it begins to disperse. Because now you're in a place uniquely of being able to say, I choose to no longer be that. And so can you get to that place and then people still choose to continue? Yes, and it happens all the time. So just coming to knowledge doesn't help you. You have to come to knowledge, then you have to embrace knowledge, then you have to walk in knowledge. And walk in knowledge is the part nobody wants to talk about, because walking in knowledge is where you tell yourself no and stop and shut up. Not somebody else telling you. Now, you've actually accomplished what Christianity never could. So, all things are hidden from one who does not know the root of all things. All things are hidden. Spiritual enlightenment can blast you in the face, and you sit there and look at your cell phone and it's gone. You never saw it again. You never heard it again. It never sunk. It never mattered. Why? Because you were too distracted about things that aren't truth. You'll notice that as what's happening happens, there's going to be a greater and a greater separation, but it's not going to be along political lines. It's going to be along spiritual lines. And I'm already watching it, the uncomfortableness. I'm already watching things that are shifting as far as people go. And it really is, the collective consciousness is going to collect again. And so whoever does not know the root of wickedness is no stranger to it. Those who do not understand how they came will not understand how they will go. And they are no strangers to this world, which will exalt itself and be humbled. So you see an underlying principle here that whether you know it or not, friends, it's your thought processes that are deep inside of you and your lack of knowledge of the truth is going to be what determines which one of those two. Dolores Cannon talked about it, that there is going to be a massive splitting of the earth. That may be a manifestation physically, but I believe that concept is actually a lot more, and it's already happening, is a division between people. Okay, the two worlds are going to be a world of people that are still mindless, still playing games with theirself, still lying to theirself, very low density, and then there are going to be those people that awaken to true consciousness. And so it's vitally important for those. It's just like it's vitally important that we learn the things that we're going to need. They're here. We have to learn them now. We have to resurrect, and the concept of resurrection is coming back to the known experience of who I truly am. And that I am not that. I am not that. I am not that. I am not that. And this is what I truly am. But then you have to put that into your life and make that your reality. So, we need to understand where we came from so we'll know where we're going. He took Judas and Matthew and Mary to show them the final consummation of heaven and earth. And when he placed his hand on them, they hoped they might see it. And Judas gazed up and saw a region of great height, and he saw the region of the abyss below. And Judas said to Matthew, "Brother, who can attain to such a height or descend to the abyss below? For there is great fire there and great terror." And at that moment, a word issued from the height. Okay? As Judas was standing there, he saw how the word came down. And he asked the word, "Why have you come down?" And the Son of Humanity greeted them, which you will see totally lines up with John's statement about what Yeshua was. The first word that he's talking about that was established is himself. He was the first word that was thought. And so he says, he asked the word, Judas did, "Why have you come down?" And let's see what the response from the word is. And the Son of Humanity greeted them and said to them, "A seed from a power was deficient, and it descended to the earth's abyss. And the Majesty remembered it, and he sent the word to it." So there is a seed on this earth that is deficient. And because Monad saw the deficiency, he knew that he needed to send something so that the first word would stand. Well, we have to remember the first word is Yeshua. So for Yeshua to stand in the pleroma, something had to happen down here. And he descended to the earth's abyss, and the majesty remembered it and sent the word to it. And the word brought the seed up into the presence of the majesty so that the first word might not be lost. His disciples marveled at everything he told them, and they accepted all of it in faith. And they understood that it was no longer necessary to keep an eye on evil. You might not have quite thought that that's where you would have ended up. So what is transpiring here that Yeshua is saying? Why we no longer need to keep an eye on evil. And it doesn't mean in the physical realm that we don't need to pay attention to things around us. It doesn't mean, but why do we not need to keep an eye on evil? Because if we are focused on evil, we will inevitably be evil. If we focus on good and what is right, we will inevitably be right. That's why when I say to you, all of these things that the archons are using, and in many cases it is television, in many cases it is your phone, why are they increasing with AI and AI porn and all of that stuff? Friends, if you don't understand whether you believe in the archons or not is irrelevant, because the archons definitely believe in the word. And they know that their time is coming to an end. When you see the archon speaking, you were told that it was a demon with the madman at Gadara, but it wasn't a demon that was in him, nor was it a legion of demons. It was the archons who were functioning in his mind. All mental illness is called mental illness for one reason and one reason only. You're sick in your head. And so these people are sick in their head. The madman at Gadara had a mental deficiency, not a possession by something. He had spirit forces who come to every one of us, and they sit on your shoulder, and you have a propensity to be something, and they continue to tell you that you should do that because that's good, and you buy it. That's why people stay in their sin, if you would. The negative things they do to themselves, because they are in league with the archons, even if they're not aware that that's what's telling them all of these things. Most of the time, you associate the things of the archon with yourself. That's why you can justify yourself so fastly. You will be the meanest person against other people, but you'll be the nicest person to yourself. You are a carrier of the archon, if that's you. So, then he said to his disciples, "Did I not tell you, like a visible flash of thunder and lightning, what is good will be taken up to the light?" Did I not tell you that? All of his disciples praised him and said, "Master, before you appeared here, who was there to praise you? For all praises are because of you. Or who was there to bless you? For all blessing comes from you." As they were standing there, he saw two spirits bringing a single soul with them. And there was a great flash of lightning, and a word came from the Son of Humanity, saying, "Give them their garments, and the small become like the great." They were like those who were received up. There was no distinction amongst them. The words he spoke convinced the disciples. And so that might be a little deep for some of you and might take a long time, and it certainly is a very, very deep saying. But the reality is that we are and always have been. We only are ignorant of it. And if we stay ignorant of that, if we choose not to remember, if we choose to continue to believe the narrative that tells us that we're broken, if we continue to manifest ourself instead of manifesting higher self, then that's a choice also that you get the opportunity to make if you choose to. But we come and we are already. And he wants us to know that. We already are inside. And so Mary asks about this vision. Mary says to him, look, I see the evil that affects people from the start when they dwell with each other. The master said to her, when you see them, you understand a great deal. They will not stay there. But when you see the one who exists eternally, that is the great division. So once again, what is he talking about? You can see everything that there is. You can have all of your opinions. You can do all of those things, and you can be totally convinced that you're absolutely right. And I say to you, I'm happy for you. But I'm going to follow the path that says that it's not until I begin to actually see me, the true me, the spirit me that has existed since everlasting to everlasting. I was created before all of these other things were created, and so were you. But if you can't see it, you just can't see it. I'm not the major doctor diagnosis about every reason why people make themselves a non-candidate. That's not my interest nor my business. It's between you and you. And so the master says to her, when you see them, you understand. Speaking to Mary, the enlightened one, she was truly enlightened. She was a horrible misdeed has been done to Mary of Magdala, the feminine aspect. Those two together, Yeshua and Mary, make the divine essence, in case you haven't figured that out. She was the illuminated one he left here, not the other disciples. She was a starseed, if you would. She carried the divine truth that not one of the other disciples ever attained. You can understand now why Christianity needed to turn her into a whore and turned his mother into the godly thing that Mary actually was. Nobody knows anything about Mary, the mother of Yeshua, except that she was a humble housewife that walked around all over Israel. And past that, nobody knows. While everybody sleeps and everything goes on as the way it's always been. Let's celebrate Christmas. And so the master said to her, when you see them, you understand a great deal. They will not stay there. But when you see the one who exists eternally, that is the great vision. And so the vision of the two with the one in the middle was a vision of self. Masculine, feminine, light. And so they all said to him, explain it to us, explain it to us. He said to them, how do you wish to see it? A passing vision or an eternal vision? So do you just want me to put the TV show on for you so you can watch it, or do you want me to show you the reality of it inside of you? Because the only one that is eternal is the one that's in you. The rest is not, anything external is exactly that. It has no eternal value to it. It will all go away. But the only one that will exist, including your human body, which is external, the only thing that will remain is the true spirit light self. And so they all said to him, explain it to us. And he said to them, how do you wish to see it? In a passing vision? So do you just want a vision and you go, oh, wow, that's really amazing? Or do you want to actually see it eternally? And he went on to say, do your best to save what can come after me, and seek it and speak through it, so that whatever you seek may be in harmony with you. For I say to you, truly, the living God is in you. I hope that you can understand, if you haven't, how huge the deception on humanity has been. You have a picture in your mind of what Jesus is, And that is the picture that you have. And it's just a concocted story. There's no truth to any of it. Why did they have to burn all of the books that told us this? Well, the answer is pretty obvious to me. And he says, I say to you, truly, the living God is in you, as you also are in God. That's pretty huge. If he hadn't made it clear, and he did, the two testimonies in the New Testament, I share this all the time with people, that Yeshua said the kingdom of God is inside of you. He didn't put any requirements for that. He simply said, you are. And we all are. That's so amazing, is that I am this, but yet I'm choosing to live over here at such a low standard, a low density. And those will be the situations that keep the separation going on. Because those who do not choose to live at a low density after they come to the remembering that they are divine will be the ones who will move in what's coming into the collective soul. And so Judas said, I really want to learn everything. All of these things, it's amazing how they portrayed all of these people. And now you just have to get a new mindset. Here we have Judas as the one that killed him in this horrible guy whose guts bursted out. And now we find out he was one of his most favorable disciples. Isn't that crazy? Along with Mary. And also, you never hear about Matthew in the book of Matthew. And you hear about Matthew as always constantly one of the ones. I see now why the book of Matthew was the first gospel. Because it probably was the first. And it probably was the purest of all of them. And so Judas says, I really want to learn everything. And the master said to him, the living God does not dwell in this entire region of deficiency. So when I say to you, why do you keep wasting your time to pray to an external God? He doesn't exist. Now, some would hear that, and because they're ignorant, would go, oh, well, he doesn't believe there's a God. In fact, quite the contrary. I actually believe more than you do the God, because I am a personal friend of his. He speaks to me constantly. You can have the same if you choose to have that. But it's a choice you're making. And so, Judas asked the question, who will rule over us? And the master replies, look, here are all the things that exist among what remains. You rule over them. Now, what a really sad state of affair. And for all of the billions of people, friends, who've died, some of your loved ones, in fact, really honestly, all of your loved ones have all died, stepped across the veil. This human body fell dead, whether it was in a bed, whether you were standing up, had a heart attack, whether you died in a car wreck. It doesn't matter how you died. This physical body died and your spirit exited. Something he talks about, and I am going to personally, I have a desire to I believe that what he said is true, and I do believe that we can make a conscious choice to leave our bodies, and our bodies will collapse and we will leave this place. I believe that's real. I believe that's doable. In fact, I don't even think that surprises him. He speaks about it here very shortly. We will see that he says you have the power inside of you to check out whenever you're ready. And that's not talking about suicide. Although many have committed suicide to get out of this world. They're finished living in the human world. It's a conscious choice that they made. And so the master said, look, all things that exist among what remains, you rule over them. And Judas said, but look, the rulers are over us, so they will rule over us. And the master answered, you will rule over them. When you remove jealousy from yourselves, you will clothe yourselves in light and enter the bridal chamber. And so here's the first time that it's really come out like this about the bridal chamber. But dear one, the bridal chamber, all of those great verses that all of you people have been waiting on in the New Testament, those were all corrupted texts of his teachings. The bridal chamber is you. And it's only when you join forces with that light that you become one. It's the two. It's the Adam and the Eve making the whole. We were told in Genesis the truth. The definition was what was corrupt. The ancient Hebrew, on a side note, the ancient Hebrew has been manipulated by Christian and Hebrew scholars to say that they took her, that God took her from the rib of man. What that really in Hebrew, what it really says is that they took half of the man and made the woman. That's why Adam says, you are now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, and we two have become one. Not 60-40, not superiority. The divine masculine and the divine feminine must be in balance. That is the bridal chamber. And that can only happen in your higher self. So all of these concepts that you've heard in the Bible, I used to hear preachers preaching about it. Oh, God, they would tell everybody how, and absolutely no conscious understanding about what the heck they were even saying. They didn't understand it, and they still don't understand it. The bridal chamber is you. When the two become one in you. And so the master answers, you will rule over them when you remove jealousy from yourselves. And whether you recognize it or not, almost everything that is a human trait, if you call it ego, inevitably, if you trace it back far enough, your ego is nothing but jealousy. That's why people have to be louder or bigger or stronger or whatever. They have to do all of those things because they're jealous of someone else. So I have to be the thing because somebody might look at that one and not look at me. And it all roots out of jealousy. It will destroy the lives that it manifests in. And so he says, when you remove jealousy from yourselves. So this has nothing to do with jealousy of other people, has nothing to do with anything except for you and you alone. You will clothe yourselves in light, but you can't clothe yourselves in light living in jealousy. You can't clothe yourself in light living in ego. You can't clothe yourself in light living in self-centeredness. You can't do it. They're enemies to each other. And many will never find the light that exists in them because of those things. And so you will clothe yourself in light when you get rid of jealousy. So can I also tell you that he just said there, unless you get rid of the jealousy inside of you, the ego that's inside of you, and all of the other pieces that we sum up as calling shadow work, Yeshua simply puts them into the proper perspective, which whatever your deal is nothing but jealousy. You're jealous of something, and it's killing you. And so it's only when you remove that from yourself. I say this all the time, and I've actually had people get offended because I told them their life is their fault. But I don't know how you say it anymore. In the Theosophical Society that Helena Blavatsky, they wouldn't put up with people coming in and complaining about how bad their life was. They simply looked at them and told them, hey, you created it, you don't like it, change it. And if you did that today, you know, you would then be counted as being something that was unkind. It wasn't unkind. There's just nothing I can do if you choose to continue down this road. I can't make you do this. You have to choose it, and then you have to do it. And if you don't, then that's what you wanted. And so you will rule over them when you remove jealousy. You want to know how to gain power? Remove the jealousy. You will never be a ruler over yourself. You will never be sovereign. You cannot stand in front of the archons when you fall dead and you walk up to them and tell them, you have no control over me, I am a sovereign. You will not be able to say that to the first level of archons if you don't take care of the things he's trying with amazing kindness to tell us is reality. You'll just, from ground level 1 astral plane, you'll get to see some colors. They'll hand you a new ticket and you'll go back into another body. The timing that's going on right now is a once in about every 24,000 year thing. It's not coming around again. There's not going to be another day of graduation for another 24,000 years. So that typically means that you continue to cycle in through that through the whole time until we come back, and maybe next time you will remember, maybe something has shifted inside of you and you will begin to then take hold of what you didn't take hold of. Eternal's eternal, and when we get out of time, then I guess at one level it doesn't really matter, but for some people it matters. I'm ready to be done. I've been there, done that, and I don't want to see no more. And so Judas asked the question, how will our garments be brought to us? The master answered, there are some who will provide them for you and others who will receive them. And they will give you your garments, for who can reach that place? It is very frightening. But the garments of life were given to these people because they know the way they will go. Wow. Indeed, it is even difficult for me to reach. And so Mary utters words of wisdom. Mary says, so the wickedness of each day is sufficient. Workers deserve their food, and disciples resemble their teachers. She spoke this utterance as a woman who understood everything. And so the disciples ask about fullness and deficiency, life and death. The disciples ask him, what is fullness and what is deficiency? And he answered them, you are from fullness. So I would like to say this to every one of you. You are from fullness. You are not broken in your spirit. You are light. You are divine. You are supernatural. You are eternal. You are not broken. I don't care how many times your Sunday school teachers were so kind to tell you that you're a sinner because Adam and Eve sinned. It's a lie. It's a deception. It's never been true. It is simply an implant that was implanted by archons into your mind, and you continue to not accept truth while you continue to accept the lie. And if, as long as you are willing to do that, you will remain in that paradigm. It is a dimensional level. And so the disciples ask him, what is fullness and what is deficiency? And he answered them, you are from fullness and you are in the place of deficiency. So at the same time that he tells him you already are light, he also tells him, but you're functioning according to your mind, according to your ego, according to your subconsciousness, according to the programming your parents and your grandparents and your school teachers and your school and society has programmed. So you are this, but you're here. You are from fullness. All of us came from the pleroma, fractals, fragments of light, every one of us. And you are in the place of deficiency, this earth. And look, his light has poured down on me. And so Matthew asked, "Tell me, Master, how the dead die and how the living live?" And the Master said, "You have asked me about a true saying that eye has not seen, nor have I heard it." That's really funny, isn't it? Eye has not seen, and I have not heard it, except from you. Sure, he didn't feel great right about then. "But I say to you, when what moves a person slips away, that person will be called dead. And when what is living leaves what is dead, it will be called alive." Have you understood all of this? And so Judas asks, "So why really do some die and some live?" And the Master said, "Whatever is from truth never dies." And so that's why I say to you, and it really is, it's not a point of contention. It's not a point of shame. If you're not there, you're not there. And if you can't see, you can't see. No matter how bad somebody wants to help you. They can explain it 1,000 times, and the first words out of your mouth will prove that you didn't understand anything. And on some levels, there's really not too much you can do about that, and even less that the person who shared truth with you can do about it. Even Yeshua did not have the power to open the eyes of his disciples where they understood these things. That's why they traveled with him, if you would, for 3.5 years and still knew as little when they started as they did when they ended. There was very little growth and progress, although, according to the human level, there was lots of growth and progress. And so, whatever is from truth does not die. So when I say to you, be very careful about those words that you don't resonate with and you throw away, because they will be eternal if they are truth, whether you like them or don't. And I watch a lot of egotistical pride people with big opinions and very little knowledge talk like they're some spiritual guru. Whatever is from woman dies. Everything about you that is human ceases to exist. And yet, people put their trust and their faith and belief in themselves. The only thing that they know for sure that is going to pass away. And so Mary asked then, "Master, why have I come to this place, to gain or to lose?" It's a valid question for all of us. Why are you here? Are you here to simply come down here and lose, or are you here to come down here and gain something? And the Master replies, "You show the abundance of one who reveals." You show the abundance of one who reveals. And Mary asked him, "Master, then is there a place that is abandoned or without truth?" And the Master says, "The place where I am not." So you can see the criticalness of the Gnostic plot, and you can see how it had to be intentional. It is, I know that. I'm okay with understanding. But many people still can't understand, how could a religious system that sold Jesus for thousands of years, how can all of the priests and all of the scholars and all of the teachers and all of the people and all of the dioceses and all of the different brands of Christianity, how can all of those be totally false and corrupt? And that may, if you have that struggle, I think it's valid. But alas, there's only one thing that trumps that question. And that question is there not truth? What is truth? Truth is I am not broken. I am amazing. I am wonderful. I am loving. I am kind. I am light. I am peace. I am joy. Even if I'm not functioning in that in my flesh body, I recognize that I am that. And if I recognize I am that, I will bring that forth. And so will you. And so the Master said, the place where I am not is where. So where is he not? Because really the only answer isn't about cliche like Christianity that God's everywhere. God's everywhere because we are. And so Mary says, Master, you are awesome and marvelous and like a devouring fire to those who do not know you. So to an enlightened person, the truth is always going to bring, even if it tells you that half of your life is wrong, it's still going to make you feel amazing. It resonates with you in the proper manner of that. That is to say, to know truth doesn't say you always like it. It simply knows inside of you, instinctively in your higher self, that truth has just been presented. You have any clue how many people have heard truth and walked away from it totally ignorant that what they just heard was truth? There's many people living right now all around that are doing that on a daily basis with no conscience and no knowledge of it. So, the place where I am not. Mary said, Master, you are awesome and marvelous and like a devouring fire to those who do not know you. She didn't see him as that way. And Matthew asked, why don't we go to our rest at once? And the Master says, when you leave these burdens behind. Matthew asked, how does the small unite with the great? And the Master says, when you leave behind what cannot accompany you. You want to know the clue? It's exactly what John taught us, friends. So there was so much truth being taught in Christianity that was corrupted by the defining and the understanding that they applied to it. With all of your getting, get understanding, Solo Mo said to us, which is also, his name is actually indicative of the God he worshipped, which was Solo Mo, is son, 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 3 times. That was who Solomon was. Solo Mo. And Mary says, the Master said, when you leave behind what cannot accompany you, then you will rest. So when John says to us that I must die, Paul uses the exact same principle. Those are simply principles working out of the Master's teaching. You must leave behind everything that is not truth. And that's going to be hard for some of you to deal with. More people are going to look at that one simple little statement and turn and walk away from him than you have any clue of. If you think you can continue to have your personality and your behavior and all of who you have allowed yourself to be lied to into believing that you are, if you do not deal with you, he gives you the answer. I don't have to. When you leave behind what cannot accompany you, then, and only then, will you rest. When he talked about in the New Testament, when he talked about there is a rest, but I don't talk to you about that, he's talking about this. That it's only when you go inside that you truly find rest. It's only when you become sovereign over all of those horrible bad thoughts, all of those negative traits that you always have been, and you buy it. We as humans buy that crap hook, line, and sinker. If you're lazy because you've been lazy, and everybody that's ever talked to you has told you you're lazy and you can't see anything but that. And as long as that's all you see, I guarantee you'll run every time work comes around. Just that simple. It's not going to change. It's not going to deviate unless you do something about it. Same way for many, many, many other things in our lives. They're never going to leave unless you recognize them and choose to stop it. You have to die to yourself. Paul was exactly correct. And so Mary and the other disciples discussed true life with the Master. Mary said, I want to understand all things just as they are. And the Master says, whoever seeks life, this is their wealth. For the world's rest is false, and its gold and its silver are deceptive. So once again, reiterating, if you're living the same carnal life you are, looking for the same carnal things you've always been looking for, we find out even in the New Testament scriptures that we are told that God's way is not your way and God's thoughts are so much higher above you. It has nothing to do with you as far as your carnal. It has to do with you on the inside. The responsibility of getting rid of the outside is your responsibility. And if you choose not to because, well, that's my personality, well, it's only your personality because you accepted it as your personality. The minute you say, that's not me, I'm not lazy, I'm not a thief, I'm not a crook, I'm not whatever the thing is. The minute that you do that consciously and take that responsibility for that, it will begin to crumble. Will it come back and haunt you? Many times. What do you have to do? You have to do the same thing all over again. So this never ceases. Anybody who thinks that entering into the rest means that everything ceases and you don't have any more problems is really, really, really low IQ. And so the Master says, whoever seeks life, this is their wealth. For the world's rest is false, and its gold and silver are deceptive. His disciples ask him, what should we do for our work to be perfect? And the Master says to them, be ready in every circumstance. Blessed are they who have found the strife and have seen the struggle with their eyes. So when I talk about people who walk around mindless, that's what he's talking about. I know many of them. I watch people's behaviors and I go to myself, I can't believe that person just did that. Are they mindless? Did they lose their freaking mind that they couldn't see what they just did was rude or mean or inconsiderate, on and on and on? And yet every one of us constantly have to struggle that. And the Master says, be ready in every circumstances. We see it in the New Testament, what? Be instant in season and out of season would be saying the same thing as being ready for every circumstance. So how can you be ready for a circumstance that you've never practiced functioning in the first place? You won't. You run. And if you look at yourself, if you run now from spiritual things, you've been running your whole damn life. You never took responsibility for anything. And you're not going to. That's part of your programming. No responsibility, Joe. I only run whenever something comes that I don't like. I never stand. I'm never strong. I never practice. I only run. And so his disciples ask him, what should we do for our work to be perfect? And the Master says to them, be ready in every circumstance. So in other words, guess what, dear one? There's not any time when you're not supposed to be on alert. Because the rest that comes from him doesn't come from not doing anything. The rest that comes from him comes from the inner self. That's the rest he was talking about that nobody in Christianity knows the answer to. Be ready in every circumstance. Blessed are they who have found the strife and have seen the struggle with their eyes. You have no clue how many people I've talked to, and I would say, well, did you recognize that you did this and this and this and how rude that really was towards the people around you? And this is what most of them do. Oh, I never saw that. Blessed are they who have found it, the strife, and have seen the struggle with their own eyes. That's a person who's fully conscious. That's why Paul said at the end of time, there is going to be a lack of consciousness. Friends, we must be at the end of time, because a lack of conscious mental acuity is almost non-existent. He said, they have not killed, nor have they been killed, but they have emerged victorious. And Judas asked, tell me, Master, what is the beginning of the way? And he said, love and goodness. If one of these had existed amongst the rulers, wickedness would have never come to be. The twofold there. Matthew said, Master, you have spoken of the end of the universe with no difficulty. And the Master said, you have understood all the things I said to you, and you have accepted them in faith. If you know them, they are yours. And if not, they are not yours. And they asked him, to what place are we going? And the Master said, stand in the place that you can reach. So to what place are you going? Wherever you are. You hear lots of teachings, and they're absolutely appropriate about the holding presence. See, we have a picture, and Christianity had to corrupt this. They had to tell you, that's why all Christians go around and have conversations and argue with people all the time. We are told that you were to go into all the world and make disciples of men, and Jesus said that, and because he said that, because Jesus said that, that somehow had some obviousness. And the reality is we're simply told that wherever we go, we bring light if we are light. Now, I don't say everybody's light, and there's a lot of people that ain't bringing no light and can't find the light themselves. But if you are light, and if you have found that light, then wherever you go, whatever circumstances where you're supposed to show the pleroma, the monad, your light, which is the statement he made to me. He doesn't care about the people that hate me or don't want to hear me. He only cares about the few that I will speak to and somehow will affect their life positively. And if I do that, he sees me as a great, bright, shining light. Someone who has found the way. And the same way for each and every one of you. There's no chosen in that concept. It's a misnomer that there are those that are chosen. The only chosen ones are the ones that have been chosen because of their decisions. So the first thing that happens is your actions, and then he finishes with the choice. And so they asked him, to what place are we going? And the Master said, stand in the place that you can reach. Wherever you are, it's not too far for you. And Mary asked, is everything established in this way visible? And the Master said, I have told you, the one who can see reveals. It's just that simple, friends. You cannot fake this. You can teach Christianity. You can study Christianity. But you can't get this that way. If you don't see it, you don't see it. I don't say that you can't see it. Ever, that is to say. And so Mary asked, is everything established in this way visible? And the Master said, I have told you, the one who can see reveals. You don't have, it's not something you do. Simply by seeing, you are taking up space in the cosmos. And there may be 1,000 that turn off to your energy and 5 that turn on to your energy. In Source's perspective, those 5 are the most precious, not the 1,000 that weren't. Yeshua taught this. He said, if you have 100 sheep and 99 are doing what they think is right, and there is one lost, I will go look for the one and leave the 99. That's a perfect metaphor for what is being said here. And so the Master said, if you have understood everything I have told you, you will become immortal. There's nothing else for us to learn, friends. There's nothing else for us to learn. And none of it can be faked. everything. Mary said, there is only one saying I shall speak to the Master about the mystery of truth. And in this we stand, and in this we appear to those who are worldly. And Judas says to Matthew, we want to understand what sort of garments we are to be clothed with when we leave the corruption of the flesh. We want to understand what are we going to look like when we're not human anymore. And the Master said, the rulers and the administrators have garments that are given only for a while, and they do not last. But you, as children of truth, are not to clothe yourself with these garments that last only for a while. Rather, I say to you, you will be blessed when you strip off your clothing, for it is no great thing to lay aside what is external. Do you understand? All of the clothing are the external things, and we are expected. So in Yeshua's picture, when Yeshua looks at somebody and they're in turmoil, he says, when are you going to choose to listen? When are you going to choose to put off that bad nature that you have? When are you going to put off your so-called good personality that can't make right from wrong? When are you going to put those things off? Because those things are external. They don't exist in who we are truly. That is to say, you don't tell bad jokes as an eternal spirit light, because everything is truth. Half-truths are not truth. And so, he says, the rulers and administrators have garments that are given only for a while and do not last. But you, as children of the truth, are not to clothe yourself with these garments that last only for a while. Rather, I say to you, you will be blessed when you strip off your clothing, for it is no great thing to lay aside what is external. So see, he summed it all up perfectly. He said, simply go take your clothes off and we'll be back to where we used to be when Adam and Eve were born. No, you guys are really getting way too serious. The clothes we're to take off is this. Peter talks about this also, that we must put off this garment. Same exact vernacular. It's your humanity. And to lay aside what is external. Do I speak and do I receive? And the Master said, yes, one who receives your Father in a reflective way. And we found out how potent the power of reflection is, that you reflecting internally is a very major part of your growth or your ability. First off, reflection looks at things in reality that have already been. To look inside oneself and ask oneself, is that really me? Is that really me? And many times people will answer that in the affirmative. Yes, that is me. And as long as you keep living in those clothes of your personality and your ego, all the things that people think is cool and is so popular in our society, they're going to destroy you. I mean, it's good. Keep doing it. Be all that you think that you can be. Just understand that it's not going to work out well for you. Convince yourself otherwise, that doesn't change a thing. It just means you lied to yourself again, which you've been doing your whole life anyway. Trying to convince yourself that you really are this thing called a human. And if you are a human, then you are a human. And so the Master says, when the Father established the world for himself, he left many things with the mother of all. This is why he sows and works. Judas said, you have told us this from the mind of truth. When we pray, how should we pray? And the Master said, pray in the place where there is no woman. Matthew says, he tells us, pray in the place where there is no woman, which means destroy the works of the female, not because there is another form of birth, but because they should stop giving birth. And Mary says, will they never be destroyed? And the Master says, you know they will perish once again. And the works of the female here will be destroyed as well. Judas says to Matthew, the works of the female will perish, then the rulers will call upon their realms, and we shall be ready for them. And the Master said, will they see you, or will they see those who receive you? Look, a true word is coming from the Father to the abyss silently with a flash of lightning, and it is productive. Do they see it or overcome it? No, you know more fully the way that neither angel nor authority knows. It is the way of the Father and the Son, for the two are one. And you will travel the way you have come to know. Even if the rulers become great, they will not be able to reach it. I tell you the truth, it is even difficult for me to reach it. Twice Yeshua has told us that even he was pushed to the limit of his spiritual self. That's why he had to experience humanity in perfection. He had to learn how to conquer himself, or he could not lead people who had to conquer themselves. And if you don't know that that's the journey, you probably will never find it. Thank goodness the universe wants us to find it. And so, you will travel the way you have come to know. Even if the rulers become great, they will not be able to reach it. I tell you the truth, it is even difficult for me to reach it. And Mary asked the Master, if the works are destroyed, what actually destroys the work? And the Master said, you know that when I destroy it, people will go to their own places. And Judas said, how is the Spirit disclosed? And the Master said, how is the sword disclosed? Judas says, how is the light disclosed? And the Master says that it is disclosed through itself eternally. Judas asked, who forgives whose works? Do the works forgive the world, or does the world forgive the works? And the Master answered, who knows? For it is the responsibility of whoever has come to know the works to do the will of the Father. So when I say to you, continuing on the path while you believe something differently is really just another matrix that you are going into of untruth. It is only for us to know that as I begin to see the works that need to be done, the remembering and the changing and destroying of my human self, and that doesn't mean that you cut yourself, and that doesn't mean you commit suicide. It doesn't mean any of that. By destroying it, we are talking about destroying the rule that it usurps in your life. You must destroy the rule of your laziness, or you will always be what you are. You will never get out of it. It is a matrix in and of itself, and you can take everything that controls humanity, and every one of them are also a matrix. And as long as you stay in that matrix, you are stuck. It's not about doing anything, and yet it is about everything. So, who forgives those works? There really is no need for forgiveness, because if you have come to the point that you recognize what the truth is, I will tell you here today, you are now obligated to do the things. You are now obligated to bring yourself into alignment with the will of the Father. Bottom line. That should be the end of it. And so in conclusion, as for you, work hard to rid yourself of anger and jealousy, and strip yourselves of your works, and do not suffer reproach. For I say to you, unfortunately, you receive in many one who has sought, having found true life. This person will attain rest and live forever. It's not talking about physical rest. The rest is spiritual rest of knowing what I am, and no matter what you say, think, or do to me is irrelevant. You are powerless to conquer me. That's what Christianity had to get rid of. It's okay for me to see what other people are doing. There's no prohibition in us having revelation and us having knowledge. But the bottom line of the thing is that is only a very minute step in the path. The path is for us to come to that place for ourselves. And so, he says, I say to you, you watch yourself, so that you may not lead your spirits and your souls into error. So who is it that leads us astray? Do you know that all the archons do is tell you all the things you already want to do anyways? Do you understand that they have that much understanding and they read your mind at that level? They simply tell you what you already wanted to hear. That's why you seldom find yourself in disagreement with the archons, and why most people say, oh, well, I had a thought. No, you didn't actually have a thought. You think you had a thought, but that thought was actually plugged into you because they know you better than you know yourself, and they know that if they seed you. Some of you are struggling and have no hope of finding an end of the struggle. The end of the struggle is only when you choose to quit struggling. And until then, you will continue to struggle. It's not going to go away. You will just continue the same thing. See, we're talking about, and this was came really powerfully the other night. We're talking about two different lives. I really think the metaphor of the splitting of the two is going to be those people who do split from the human form, and those people will be the higher frequency ones, and the ones who do not make that shift into that place and continue to remain in the matrix of humanity will be the ones who will just continue on with the cycles and suffering and low density and all of those other things. So if truth makes you feel low density, that's not because of truth. It's because of your resistance to the truth. If I tell you a truth today that God is in you, and you can only get angry because you were told that God is somewhere else, then your anger is only appropriate to you. It's not appropriate to the universe. And your higher self, it's also not appropriate to that. But that is who is controlling you. It is the ancient picture of the two wolves, only a little bit different picture here because there's about 4 of these that are all functioning at the same time. We have the archons who are functioning. Then we have higher self versus human self through your mind, through your subconscious mind, through your thinkings, through your opinions, through your behaviors. All of those things are one facet. And then you have this other facet over here which doesn't even remotely resemble that. You won't be the same person you've always been. If you had a problem lying and you find the truth, you won't have a problem lying anymore. If you had a problem stealing, you won't have a problem stealing. If you had a problem with self-centeredness, that self-centeredness problem will go away when you truly find out who you are. It's a picture that you're not actually receiving the revelation yet. And I don't say that that's never going to come. Some people's journeys are just longer than others. Some people's journeys need more pain. Some people need more suffering. Some people need more of things. And each one of us is individual. But inevitably, those things are the things that you chose to need. So if you want to live a life peacefully, what if you just begin to believe that you're light already. It really is a very, very, very powerful thing. It doesn't really change the world like overnight, but it will begin to change your mind overnight. And that's the place where the journey starts. So we're going to take a few minutes here. Really powerful and really powerful. So we're going to take a few minutes, and we're gonna hopefully bless you guys. We haven't played in a few weeks, and it'll feel good. I hope it blesses you. Shalom and namaste. really profound truths, and it is becoming more and more clear. I do assure you that there are plenty of people seeing that these things are truth. It really is quite empowering when you realize that you can either choose to let it morph into condemnation and shame, and maybe some of you guys are struggling with that. It's quite a mind-boggling day to realize that I recognize that I really am something, and I recognize also equally that I may not be standing in the, I guess, excellence of your higher self, but that even that is a step towards the right direction, and that's a piece of what he was trying to say to us, is the first thing that we have to do is we have to see. And so I could tell you that until you see it about yourself, you're never going to do anything to change it. And that might sound harsh to somebody. They might feel offended by that. But the reality is until you see the truth, you can't even attempt to do the truth. And so I hope you guys will remember that. There's much that has always been expected as far as change goes. Christianity gave us some external things that we could believe in this blood, and we could believe in this cross, and we could believe in these false things that are all external and never had any power to save anything. And so now we've been given the truth, and it's becoming louder and louder and louder, that the reality of it is that truth must exist in us. And so the first song we're going to do is talking about a mindless life, but there's a picture and there's a piece of hope inside of that. That's in the title of the song is change it. So I'll say to each and every one of you today, if you don't like, whatever you can recognize, if you don't like it, then it's up to you simply to choose to change it. And the song is Change It. what a message of empowerment, friends. The message that is going tells us that if we can get out of this realm, this region that controls our life for the most part of humanity, and move into a place where we can actually come to peace with ourselves and recognize that maybe right now we're not functioning in the purest form of who we are, but all of these steps are all headed in that direction, if that is the direction that you choose to go. It really is. It gives almost this picture that there is nothing that can be done to stop you. It doesn't mean that you're not going to encounter circumstances, and I love that Yahusha said that. Every circumstance you have to be ready for. So that means wherever we go, we can go in with a heart expecting to see good success and understanding that there may be circumstances that but even those negative things then become a blessing and a strength to us. And so there really is no lose in this journey. We go through ups and downs and glitches, and we have to deal with self often more than we probably really have any desire to. And that's not just one person, that's every human. And so for those of you though who do desire to walk in the true light, then dear friends, he's not gonna withhold his goodness from us. We will see, while we're in the land of the living, the beauty that it is to be true light, who you truly are, what you really are outside of the supernatural realm. And I know I talk about this, and I know it's coming, and it's going to be beautiful when we come to that place where finally all the pretense can be put down. You don't have to put that false ego out there. You don't have to put that false personality out there that you've created and concocted your whole life, trying to make you something that you never were in the first place. And so that's a really profound thing, because instead of shame, I no longer find shame when I maybe missed a mark. I recognize I missed a mark, and because of that, I go towards the light. And the light is always about us being stronger. There's a reason why the Bible tells us that we are to be strong and of a good courage, and that's not because things are going to be easy. It's because it is going to take strength and it is going to take courage. How dare you to look at yourself and realize that you're phenomenal and that you aren't broken and you never were broken. Oh, they implanted that paradigm in us that we somehow we're sinners from the get-go. How much more potent can you instill brainwashing in someone than to tell them you're a screw-up and you're always going to be? As it is now, you're not a screw-up, you're perfect, you're beautiful light, but you still have this enemy that resides with you called yourself. And it's up to you to take authority over that. And if you do, then self will die, and spirit, light, truth will begin to shine in a way that maybe some of you have never even dreamed of. And so one of the things that impedes us from that, Yahusha shares with us jealousy. Well, even pride, there's a piece of jealousy that exists in pride. Why does pride destroy? Why does it go before destruction? Because it's always tied with jealousy, right? If I'm jealous of something, that's a pride issue. And so they're not enemies, they're not counterintuitive. In fact, they are absolutely integrated fully. And so this is what not to build, and it's very difficult for us. There's a lot of people, and we need to consciously focus on that as we move towards light, humility must become the standard, no longer pride. You know, how many times have you stood in a Christian church and had them play some upbeat song, and you talk about how you got the devil under your foot and all of the other nonsense they're just a corrupt form of self-confirmations, self-affirmations, you know, and then in reality you walk out of there and you're as powerless as you were before you walked in. Those kind of things do nothing. They're not good. They might make you feel good in a minute, but they don't change fundamentally the change that has to happen, which is you switching from being one human to being a light being. And so the song that we're going to do is called Wall of Pride, and many of us, in fact I would go as far as to say every one of us have one of these, The only difference inevitably becomes is that you recognize yours, and then you exert the energy to destroy it. Wall of pride.
Don't build a wall of pride. 10 feet tall, 20 feet wide. Don't build a wall of pride. Believe sources words, they're healing to your bones. Plans words deep, it'll save your very soul. Don't build a wall of pride. Like those for me, sources I am. We live through life, follow his commands. It's not the money that makes a man. His word was sent to us to understand. Don't build a wall of pride. 10 feet tall, 20 feet wide. Don't build a wall of pride.
And really, if we will allow it, it actually, when Yeshua said that he that the Son set free is free indeed, we oftentimes, I don't think we ever, well, we weren't trained to, but we didn't ask what set free from what, because the reality is the thing that we need to be set free from the most is ourselves, from our egos, our personalities, our humanity. Let me just say it like that. And by being freed from this humanity that I must die, then as John said, this will increase. And that's where things begin to get amazing and beautiful and powerful and clarity and all of the things that's being talked about all over the earth. There's going to be a really, really intense power shift for some people in this month. It's really quite crazy. It's already happening. And has been happening. A new concept. One of the words that keeps popping up is clarity. That people going into this month, those who are truly willing to do the work of their self, because that's really the thing. Christianity teaches that we have help, we have strength to help other people, and at some levels we do. But the truth of the matter is that until we begin to help ourselves, we're powerless to help anybody. There's a lot that we learn when we help ourselves. There's a lot when we go through that battle and that conflict and that struggle with self. You could say it in this way, that chaos is proof that it exists in your life, but it also begins to manifest the most when change is in the process. Things begin to be upheavaled in your life. So everyone who thinks that following to the light is going to somehow be easy and everything's peaceful and wonderful, the true chaos that's going to function in your life doesn't even begin until you begin to have this internal battle, goodness and light and love and peace and kindness with this other thing over here that we call our human self. And so if you're encountering that, maybe you're encountering belief systems and it's really hard for you to get rid of those. That's understandable. I don't think that any of this is easy for anybody, and I really love that Yeshua was kind enough to tell us twice in just a few pages that some of these things were difficult for him to do. So if the Master had to deal with it, then why was it surprising to us that we have to deal with self also? And so when you begin to find peace with yourself, it sure does go a long ways towards making it easier when you do fail. You don't spend all the time in shame and guilt. And, you know, there's a Christian song that my family used to sing, and it was, the line said that I was basically covered by shame and guilt, and the concept was just really horrible. And while those things are really true, doing right and winning should become a victory lap, not a place that makes you have to struggle. And so the next song that we're going to talk about kind of speaks a little bit, I guess, to the journey and the path that we all should be on if we're looking for truth. And the name of the song is called Roll with the Changes. Friends, what you've seen may shock you from where you've been, but it ain't nothing compared to what's coming. Roll with the changes. Hallelujah. We just got to keep rolling with the changes. We're a long ways from even remotely coming close to the fullness, so to speak, and yet we already have the fullness. We have the fullness within us, and now the truth is being brought to us, and it is beginning for some of you, you know, you're beginning to find some freedom. Maybe you're not beating yourself up as bad as you used to. Now, understanding the reality of who we are and accepting that as a doomed thing that you have to stay in, that's a totally different issue. You have the freedom, privilege, and expectation that once you recognize what the truth is, then you begin to use the truth to free yourself from the cage that the archons have put us in. And when we begin to free ourselves from the prison, then all of a sudden things, the shame and the condemnation and all of those things, maybe many of you are still functioning on that Christian paradigm, but I tell you the truth, you just got to let things go. If you mess up, be honest enough to face up and do something about it and move on and let it go. It's not that important at this point. What is important, though, is we recognize who we truly are, and we are love, and we are peace, and we are light, and we are goodness, and we are consciousness on every level to the max, and yet we have no knowledge of it. And so the next song we're going to do speaks really to what we are, if I can use that kind of in an abstract concept. You've heard the song. It's I guess a converted and as all of our songs are, they're always in the need of conversion, because conversion is an ongoing process. It never is fixed. We're never going to know everything all at one time. It's done by experiences and failures and victories, and all of those things are part of the journey. But I will tell you one thing that is true. Source is always truth, always, and we are always source, always. And the name of the song for you today is Always. of you. We're going to take just a few minutes, and then we'll be back, and we'll just look at these affirmation for you. But I hope that you'll begin to realize that it really is true, that you really are more. I've recognized that there is actually a lot of struggle. It seems like once you get past this little hump of what it might really mean to come into your consciousness, that you really are something special. See, the motivation isn't that now I have to keep a bunch of rules. The motivation is as I begin to recognize that I am all the things that I never believed about myself, that I can now do all the things that I never could do because of the limiting picture that I had imposed on me by everyone who's ever been in my life. And so it's really not any different for you. You are great, you are amazing, you are wonderful, you are magnanimous, you are huge, you are all kinds of powerful things, and yet in unconsciousness we function in none of them. So let's become conscious beings, and then as we become conscious, let's increase that consciousness to the level of our higher self. We'll be back in just a minute. Well, namaste. We're such a wonderful day, such a beautiful, so many truths have come out. Yeshua is really an amazingly wonderful teacher, deep for sure, kind in his clarity, and I don't know that it's always so easy to see him as being kind, but you know, as I said, one of the greatest acts of love and kindness is to tell people the truth. It's easy to lie and make a story and make people feel something, but it's not quite that way all the time. So we're looking at the 14th morning, and in our James Allen book, As a Man Thinketh. And while it does, maybe to some of you that have talked to and stuff, it is overwhelming, and it is. There's no question that that's true. It is overwhelming. The reality, I don't know how many times I've asked myself, well, what if this is all true? And of course, I'm glad that I asked that question, because eventually I found the answer, and then it changed from what if this all is true to, in fact, I absolutely believe it's all true. And so that's a part of the journey that we have to individually make, and it's wonderful and great and mighty and consternating and all of those things, but we still have to come to that point. And so he's speaking today about self-control to us. It's very difficult, for many of you. I'm sure that you probably encountered and asked yourself, why does it seem so hard to change? And I think that really is not as difficult a question as we sometimes make it. Part of what makes it hard is we've been whatever we are for however long we've been. And it doesn't matter whether you're 18 years old or whether you're 80 years old. Wherever you are is a journey. To make that thing any easier, we've got to go back to day one of a human baby being birthed and change the programming that it comes into them. And when we begin to change the programming that they start life out with, they don't have to go through all of this later, getting rid of all of this falsity that we thought was reality. I don't say that it makes life not have any issues. There's a lot of those lies that we have issues with that you don't have to deal with. And so he says, in speaking of self-control, one is easily misunderstood. So it's very easy to misunderstand self-control. It should not be associated with a destructive repression. And I think that this is probably one of the most valuable statements that there is. It was kind of what I was alluding to earlier when I said that if you're living under guilt and shame and all of those things, then no matter what all you've been through, you are still functioning in the old paradigm of the flesh self. And it's really funny because as you lose the shame and the guilt, it's your responsibility to replace that with conscientiousness and consciousness. And as you do that, then there's no room. The room that this self-shame and guilt and all of that stuff inside of you, that the space that it was taking up, has to be filled back with something. That was the metaphoric teaching of Yeshua, that when a demon goes away, if you do not fill it with something, then you will end up being worse off than you were. I don't believe that he used the term demon. I would say probably more appropriately would have been archon, but they chose to change that. And that's okay. You still can get to the principle, and the principle is just simply that it's a journey. It is a process of many failures and bruised up and bloody knees from all the times when you, like Paul did, all the things you didn't want to do, you did, and all the things you wanted to do, you didn't do. And he said, a wretched man than I am, but then he goes immediately into the changing part of that concept. He was speaking about the shift in who he was, from the broken Hebrew scholar to the man of light, the mystic, the enlightened one over here, and that's where he finally found peace. Not because this was all fixed, because it's not ever going to be. Only that he found peace with the higher self and who he was, and it doesn't necessarily condone that. In fact, it actually actively functions to defeat that. And so that's some of the turmoil that happens inside of people as they begin to try to grow and do better. Oftentimes, initially, it just makes you see how bad you've been doing. But, you know, I kind of, it's real crazy because you see this metaphor played out. If any of you guys have ever watched Sheriff Ramsey do his show where he goes into a restaurant, it is a very clear metaphoric picture, friends. He goes in there with a victor. Why? Because he can see what you can't see. And he exposes to all of those people what they are. And you know what? Oftentimes, it's hard for them. But inevitably, if they're capable of accepting that, then all of a sudden you then see things begin to get better and life goes better and business is out working and things are successful. So just so you know, the picture of our journey of humanity is everywhere, all over everything. You just have to open your eyes and see it. And so he says it should not be associated with a destructive repression, which is one phase, one step that people do. They repress it. Oftentimes what comes with the repressing it is that they also deny it. And being in a state of denial is not a good place to be either. And so it should not be associated with a destructive repression, but with a constructive expression. And you really begin to love yourself, not when you condone yourself, because I don't condone anything that I do that's wrong. But I do recognize that we are humans and we are growing and we are learning. And for you, dear one, if you haven't come to this place, then I would encourage you that you begin to give yourself a little room and recognize that you are a human. You are fighting this human flesh and blood body, and it is contrary to your spirit man. That's why if you listen to it and follow it, your spirit man never does manifest. So, but with a constructive expression, a man is happy, wise, and great in the measure that he controls himself. So you see, once again, his life is determined by him. And he is wretched, foolish, and mean in the measure that he allows his animal nature to dominate his thoughts and actions. It's exactly what I've been telling you. There is a higher self inside of us, and there is our physical self. And that's where the war is. And if we allow our higher self to come through and overpose our carnal self, our personality, our ego, and we will move into a place of humility because we no longer need to be right because we know that we are right. And that's a huge difference. And so once again, it all is based off of this statement about allowing our animal nature to dominate our thoughts. He who controls himself controls his life, his circumstances, his destiny. And wherever he goes, he carries his happiness with him as an abiding possession. And this is a piece, friends, where you actually begin to learn about you must begin to think in frequency. And I want to share a couple of pieces before I get done today with you guys about ways maybe that you can begin little simple practical things that you can start doing in your life every day, and you'll do them and you'll fail, and you'll do them and you'll forget, and you'll do them and you'll do them, and then you'll forget them again, and then it's just an ongoing process. But as we continue with the process, we will begin to see changes manifest in our life. And so he who controls himself controls his life, his circumstances, his destiny, and wherever he goes, he carries his happiness with him as an abiding possession. Now, I assure you, this guy isn't naive enough to believe, and I'm not naive enough to believe that that's saying that if we do this thing, then our life is going to be perfect. It just simply says that I choose to view my frequency as sacred, and things that I used to let destroy me. It's a new song that we ought to do. Things that I used to do, we can't do them no more. Friends, that's one of the greatest revelations that we could take and put into our life. It's not because you have some commandments. It's because you instinctively, intuitively, inside of you, come to consciousness that what you're doing is not acceptable. That's all it is. And it is the purest form of higher consciousness. And so he who controls himself controls his life, his circumstances, his destiny, and wherever he goes, he carries his higher frequency with him as an abiding possession. It's not just something to be taken lightly. This is one of the most precious, most sought after, most desired things that a human can possess, is the ability, in spite of circumstances, to find peace with themselves. And renunciation precedes regeneration. So once again, here's another source telling you the same thing that I've said multiple times today. Renunciation, the stopping, the being honest enough first off. So that's the recognition. Then that's not enough, because you have to recognize and then you have to renunciate, turn your back, stop the thing that you're doing. And then when you do those two works, then you begin to regenerate. And so the permanent happiness which men seek is dissipation, excitement, and abandonment to unworthy pleasures. It's found only in the life which reverses all this, the life of self-control. So where we have all lived is basically, to a large extent, a life of no self-control. And so the evening he writes, law, not confusion, is the dominating principle in the universe. The difference is the law of the universe is not like the commandments, the law that we were told. That's why Christianity has turned the law into such a bad thing. The archons can get you to believe that law is bad. You will break the laws of the universe, and you will never get out of this prison called life. Never. There's no way for you to get out if you live in that plane. And so it is the dominating principle in the universe. That's why we kind of have a false, and of course there's been lots of people to help breed this, and most of it was just opinion about what karma is and what karma isn't. Karma isn't some retribution to somebody. It is the outworking of the law that exists already. So it will do it whether you know it or whether you don't know it. It will do it whether you're doing it or don't do it. That is to say, if you rob someone and you get arrested and you get thrown in prison, that wasn't karma giving you retribution. That was the law functioning, that when you sin against other people, you pay a price for it. Okay? They never go away. They never stop. That's why I used to marvel, since I've been a little bitty kid, I used to wonder and ask myself when they'd go on TV and you would hear these great things about a Ponzi scheme, or you hear about somebody who robbed a bank. And I asked myself when I was about 5 years old, watching TV, and they had the news on, and it was this thing that this person had done. And I just asked myself, what was the worth? So that person did this evil, and then they ended up getting evil, and they still won't accept responsibility, for no one put them in that place except themselves. So some of these principles I've been looking at a long time before I had any clue of what they actually were. And we see it all over. All of these people that in Minnesota that stole this $9 billion from us, all of those people are now going to cry foul, and yet it's nothing but the outworking of law. when you hurt other people. If you take $9 billion of our money, we could have everybody in America could have free insurance if we stopped all the waste that exists. That's higher consciousness, where you say, well, I have an opportunity to steal from the people of America and from the government, but my higher self says that I sin not against those people, although certainly I do, but I sinned against myself, because when I get caught, I'm going to pay a price, and consciousness would tell you, you're going to pay the price. It's universal law, friends. It doesn't have commandments. It has laws. And if you do the one side of it, you get the other side. Everybody does. And if you do this side of it and not this side of it, then you get the reward. Everybody does. It's not a retribution. It is an outworking of a behavior. And you get it whether you like it or don't. And so the universe is justice, not injustice, is the soul and substance of life. And righteousness, not corruption, is the molding and moving force in the spiritual government of the world. If you notice, Yahusha came and he didn't teach any principles. He just came and told everybody that your higher self is inside of you, the light of God. You are eternal, and then you deal with it however you want to. And it seems like he's okay if you choose not to. I mean, that is to say, if you want to keep coming in and being louche for the archons and live another 20 past lives, then I guess Yahusha seems like he's kind of okay with that. You know, on the other side, if you choose not to want to do that, then he gave you an out for that. And you're the one he was talking to. So, the soul and substance of life and righteousness, not corruption, is the molding, moving force in the spiritual government of the world. This being so, man has but to right himself to find that the universe is right. And that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier, friends. This isn't about you beating yourself up because you're a screw up. I think if all of us were honest on one level, we've probably all lived at some point and saw ourselves as being inferior. There are many complexes that exist on this earth. If you don't understand this, the self-esteem of the people in America is at an ultimate low right now. That is massive density. And so all you need to do is go sit and talk. And when you sit with somebody, just ask them, so what's the status of your self-esteem? And you can find out everything that you would need to know about that person by that one question. If a person has low self-esteem, it's because they have no consciousness of consciousness. Because you can't be low self-esteem and know that you are part of the divine. And so as that become experiential, and I'm not talking about head understanding, that's kind of difficult for some people. Just because I told you that doesn't mean you know it. It's only when it becomes real inside of you. Not words. Words don't need to be expressed for you to know. You just know that I am that. I may not be doing everything perfectly right now, but inevitably I have nothing but perfection to pursue. And so that then takes the load off of, and it takes the thing off of. Be kind to yourself, and however kind you are to yourself, be that kind to everybody else. It's really crazy, and I know some of you have been this, and you've certainly been around people that they were just as hard and dogmatic as they could be about everybody else, but boy, they always was easy on their self, and that's a really horrible human trait to be around. Very sickening, very detestable. That someone, in fact, quite the contrary. Why don't we learn how to be kinder to other people than we are to ourselves without diminishing being kind to ourselves? Would that not be a higher plane to observe? Of course it would. And so, this being so, man has but to right himself to find that the universe is right. So I shared earlier, instead of you functioning under the shame that you've lived your whole life under, programmed by Christianity and your parents, that you were a bad person and you really needed to be brutalized and punished, and that God was going to be the one to do that for you, when in reality, nothing of that is even remotely true. Okay? Coming to consciousness, people that don't will just continue. That's why he said, people who don't know what unrightness is, I assure you, they're very versed in it. That was a really huge statement Yeshua gave to us. On the other side, if you instinctively and intuitively know that a behavior is bad and you do something to stop it, then that will profit and bless your life. And so you take all of these things. Everybody has different ones, but everybody has them. And it's then up to you to recognize, diagnose yourself for where you're failing, and then do something about it. If you do that, then you will see nothing but bliss come. If you don't do that, then you will continue on the same suffering you've always been on. That's why people make repetitious mistakes throughout the course of their whole life. There's people that are still making the same mistakes they were making in their 20s. They're just going to continue, and if they do it again, they'll make the same mistake again, because they never came to that place that mistake is happening because of who they are. And that's a really kind of a hard pill to deal with. You know, you got to really be a special person to look at yourself and go, well, I love me, and you should be able to. And I'm not proud of what I did over here, but on the other side, I recognize that I'm this, and that was a mistake I made, and I can conquer that mistake. And if you do that, there's nothing that the universe will keep from you. So there really is a lot of great blessings that come with honesty and humility, with recognizing that we are more than what we've been told. And it's kind of hard to get out from under those Christian paradigms, as I said earlier, you know, that because of Adam and Eve, you know, because of Adam and Eve's glitch in a moment, you know, which now I know that none of that was any true anyways. It was never was the picture, and the snake was a friend of ours, not our enemy. And so, my God, they've done so much corruption. I don't know how the heck we ever made it to this point, but I'm sure thankful that the universe knows how. And so, when I am pure, I shall solve the mystery of life. And so I think there's a really true sense. What if you never had to say you're sorry for anything because you never did things that you needed to be sorrowful for? You know, the problem is not that you do this thing or the other. The problem is that you don't recognize it and stop it beforehand. So it's really not the thing. You can do anything. You can be a murderer or you can be a bank robber, but if you don't figure out before you commit those acts that there's a price to pay, then don't be surprised when you have to pay the price. It's that simple. It's your choice. I mean, you're free to do so, but I can tell you right now, you won't find somebody that's pure inside robbing a bank, and you won't find them murdering somebody. So this whole concept of the kingdom of God is in righteousness has never gone away. And it's really hard because I see a lot of people who have a mindset from the stuff that's being sold to them that righteousness is no longer important. I assure you that every person that is ascended in the Creator's mind will be righteous. He's not going to allow unrighteousness into his perfect, pure presence. It's just not going to happen. I don't care how much you think you're better than everybody else. And so, when I am pure, I have solved the mystery of life. I shall be sure. When I am free from hatred, from lust, from strife, those three right there consume about 99% of everything in our life. Lust, the one of things. We often have that, and I still do. When I hear the word lust, immediately my mind goes to sex. Okay? But it's so much more than just, although that is a piece of it. But we have those same kind of feelings as desire for sex, for owning objects. I mean, there's just so much of that fits under the lust heading that most people don't equate because it's not sexual, which of course is a picture of how carnal your mind is anyway. But when I am free from hatred, I told somebody recently that was very liberal, and when they wanted to talk to me about how bad the white men were because of the how mean they were being to the races, I looked at the guy and I said, I hate to tell you this, my friend, but you can go sit and have some soul food with black people, and you're going to hear them talk about white people the same way you hear white people talk about them. What's the point? The point is everything is systemic. It's everywhere. It doesn't matter whether you're a politician from Houston, Texas, screaming about things that you somehow think are wrong, or whether you're one in Minnesota. Right and wrong exist no matter where you are. And that's hard, because we thought that the only way we could be righteous if we kept the Bible, which none of you ever did. So nobody has ever been righteous ever. Ever. We never lived according to Yeshua's words, even when we thought we were saved Christians. That's why they sold you that bill of goods, so you wouldn't be. And so, when I am pure, so then let's ask ourselves a simple question. What if you begin to reflect, and what if you begin to reflect on what you deem as not being pure, and then you begin to work on taking that out? Could you get it out immediately? Probably not. But I assure you, if you don't begin the journey, you never arrive at the destination. And so when we let our guard down and we quit being this human with a big ego and a personality that cannot change. I've had people that tell me I'm not capable of changing, and I'm really sorrowful. I really do. I weep for those people, because, you know, if this is what you want for the rest of eternity, by all means, I don't mind you feeding the archons, but I don't have a desire to be here helping you. And so when I am freed from hatred, which is so multifaceted, and lust, and strife, I am in truth. And truth abides in me. The shift, the things that are going on, and this is happening a lot, really, to be honest with you, of people who are recognizing all of a sudden that the people that were their friends their whole life, they no longer want to be around them. And it doesn't mean that the person has somehow shifted and become worse. In fact, it's actually just that you now see what you couldn't see before. And maybe sometimes that's a positive thing, because it opens then a door for you to be a light to somebody that you've loved. And maybe you being the right light will inevitably help that person. That's where you take up space. That's where you stay in presence. Just simply you being around. And they use this, Jesse Duplantis got the most words for this with Kenneth Copeland, but he said that every morning when he put his feet on the ground, the devil trembled. Well, good luck. I don't know who the devil is, and I'm sure he's not trembling much there, fella. But the reality of the situation is that we do have cosmic power on this earth, and it's only up to us to realize that. You're infinitely more powerful than you have a clue of. But if you can't find it inside of yourself to get out of the elementary, how are you ever going to grow, transmute into the new thing, which is the essence of alchemy, changing from the lead, my flesh, to the gold, my higher self. That's what it was always about. And so, I shall have solved the mystery of life, and I shall be sure. And that's experiential, what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to convince myself anymore that I am. I fully recognize I am. I'm now seeking the pieces that bring me to greater understanding of that. And so, when I am free from hatred, lust, and strife, I am in truth, and truth abides in me. I shall be safe. Oh, and look here. Sane. And what? Wholly free. When I am pure. And so people go, yeah, but you know, Brother Turner, we'll never be perfect. Well, if that's what you keep speaking over yourself, I guarantee you that's exactly what the truth is. On the other side, what if you recognize that we are the essence of perfect itself? You can't see it because many people, this is one of the saddest things for me that I see. Many people find it very difficult, and most, maybe even, I don't know, but most haven't even begun the journey to ask their self about who their self is. Think about that a minute. If I only see the human me, and Yeshua told you, those who see voice that, and those who don't see have nothing to voice. How can you talk about the light when you don't even know what it is? How can you talk about the light when you're not functioning it? How can you talk about the light? How can you lead your children to the light when you yourself are not trying to find the light? And so these things function in everyday life for every one of us. But those who do see, he said, will be the ones on this earth that are sharing the truth that you are light. You're not broken. You're out of balance, as we all are. We are coming into balance. We see a greater level than ever. The feminine aspects of humanity is coming back. I said this and it was a little bit, people were kind of shocked by it. So I've been told that I think that there's actually a greater picture here in all that's happening in our society. I believe many, and we do know that children have been progressively, generation to generation, being birthed with higher frequency rates. I think that what's happening is there's actually a bleeding through of the masculine and the feminine combination. And to be quite honest with you, I think there's a lot of people on this earth who are really confused right now, because they may possess one and yet feel the aspects of the other. That's why you hear children say, inside I'm a girl. They're not a girl inside. There is a dominant part of the feminine aspect of humanity that is ruling over the dominant. Listen, nobody will win no matter which one of those two scenarios. The masculine and the feminine aspect of a human must be in perfect balance. Anything that is out of balance is chaos. And so when you are in perfect balance, you have loving, kindness, nurturing, intuitive aspects, which are all feminine traits. But you also have the strong and the dominating aspect of the masculine. And so you have to be strong and dominating and yet kind and nurturing. And that's the only way, friends, is when we are in true balance. So I don't condone those things. It's just something that I've been observing. It seems like to me that what's happening is we're starting to actually see the manifestation of these spirit things, and unspiritual people are always going to handle everything spiritual wrong. And so instead they go, oh, wow, well, I'm a girl. No, that's not really the case. You're really a boy, but there was something robbed from you thousands of years ago. And so there more and more and more pieces are coming out about that. This little concept about the what was actually written in Hebrew about Adam and Eve. The statement was, we were told that God stuck his hand in and pulled a rib out. What the actual Hebrew actually says is that Eve was made from the side. In other words, one of the sides of Adam. What did God do? He split him, and he split the two in half, and the two back together. Masculine and feminine are what make us a whole human being. And with that, I hope you guys are blessed. I hope that you've been overwhelmed, because I assure you there's nothing that's been put out here today that won't change your life if you will allow it to. On the other side, without your allowance, then there's never any change anyways. So peace and shalom to each and every one of you. I hope you have an amazing new year. I hope you're excited and ready for all the spiritual things that are going to come. Remember, there's a lot of really, really strong moon energy right now, and so if you see things, some people may experience some things like seeming all of a sudden overly tired. We've been in a really active system for quite some time, at least the last year. and it is physiologically, it is affecting humans, and it's going to continue to get stronger, just so you know. So peace to each and every one of you. I hope you have an amazing week. It's going to be beautiful here in Missouri, and wherever you're at, I hope it will there too. Shalom and namaste.